Hello there, this is William, and this is the Wusik 44UM MIDI controller. And the great things about it is that it uses an Arduino, so its firmware is open source. Let me plug it on my computer, so it uses MIDI USB. The other way. It has 32 RGB LEDs, one for each button. Right now it's configured as a note latch, so it turns a note on for each button I press. And it has 7 pages, so I can change pages here. And each page is going to have a different note number. So on the computer, it just shows that open MIDI OX, shows as MIDI notes as I press. So it's just holding the notes because it's on latch mode. So those are the notes. So if I press both page here at the same time, it's going to do all notes off, and it's going to reset all notes. But you're not tied to just notes. You can send MIDI controllers, you can use actions, you can program to do anything you want. And since the firmware is open source and I'm always updating, I can add more stuff to it. So right now it's set to note latch, and I can go to a different page. It's going to be different notes, and if I go back to other page, it shows that those shoes are being held. And if I press and keep pressing for 6 seconds, 8 seconds I think, it's going to allow me to reprogram the unit. So the first one here is just MIDI control on and off. Now this is 2 note on and off, so it produces a note as I hold and release as I release. So it has other settings that you can use. So if I hold again for 8 seconds, it sends a panic first. Then after 8 seconds, I can reconfigure. So I'm going to go for the second option, and now it's sending controller change instead. Sorry for the shaky hand. It's hard to hold the hand with the cell phone with one hand only. So this is just sending controller, and if I change the page, you can have 7 pages, and each page can have its own configuration for each button. You can configure the on LED color, the off LED color, the action for the on, the action for the release, and the same things for the page buttons. You can use those for other things, not just page selection. And it has a memory to hold all the configuration, so it doesn't need any driver or any application if you're using those included modes. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 modes, and I can add more if people want. But if you use the app, you can configure everything on the board. Each button you can set what you want, the color for on and off, and the action, if it's a note, a MIDI controller, or just an action. And it's going to be saved only in unit, so you don't have to run the app every time, just when you want to change something. So that's how it works. So we have 18 buttons, 1, 2, and this 4x4 grid, 32 RGB LEDs, 2 for each button. They go on the left and on the right to give a better brightness. You can see a bit if you close up, but if you're playing with this on the dark, you really don't see. And the buttons are very bright. Right now this red color is just at 10%. That's just to show that you are on page 2. Page 1 has no background color. Page 3 has green, then blue, then a red pattern, a green pattern, and a blue pattern for the last page, which should be page 7. You can see that it's very bright when you play. And if you want it to be even more, with more brightness, you can use a powered USB hub, or just cut the USB cable and feed 5 volts directly to the board from an external power supply. Don't feed back to the computer, otherwise it could be a problem. And right now it's just plugged directly into the computer. And it only loses brightness when I press around 6 buttons at the same time. Another thing is that each button is connected individually to the Arduino inside, so I'm not using a button matrix. This means that you can press any combination of buttons and it's going to recognize. It's not like on a keyboard, a computer keyboard that uses a button matrix. So some combination of buttons doesn't work, and on this unit all the 18 buttons are individually addressed in the Arduino, so you can press any combination of those. And the unit, this one is my prototype. It's a bit dirty, has some dirty buttons, but this is 3D printed. You can see that it has a bit of the 3D printed pattern. This one is semi-translucent gray, so you can even see the Arduino light inside. And I made it with a white border to make 3 pieces, the top, the middle, and the bottom, so it's easier to handle a few things during assembly. On the bottom I put some rubber feet on mine, but I'm going to, this is a bit crooked, but it's my fault. The final ones will be a bit more clean, and the screws are going to be hiding. And you can choose black for now for the unit, but I'm going to put more color options on the side. And it really does look great, and it's very clicky, and it's very sturdy too. So we just have the USB cable coming out, and since it's using the Arduino Pro Micro, which is the small version of the Arduino Leonardo, which uses the 80MEGA32U4, it can act as a MIDI USB controller right away directly on the operational system, which works on Windows, Mac, and Linux. And there's no other thing to install, no drivers or no app to install to use it like it is with the included modes. Just to personalize the buttons, you have to use an app which is Windows and Mac compatible. I don't know if I'm going to be making a Linux one, and I'm still working on that, so I don't have screenshots for it, but it's very simple. Just an app you open, it shows all the buttons, you select the page 1 to 7, and select what the button on that page is going to do. You even have an option like holding a button will select a page while it's holding. One of the programming options already does that. I don't know if it's number 4, I think. Let me see. Yeah, it's number 4. So if I press and hold here, I'm on page number 2. If I release, I back up to page 1. It's just one test that I made and included as a configuration. And I think that's pretty much it. So keep in mind that this is hand assembled, it's 3D printed, the buttons are 3D printed, the case is 3D printed, and everything is plastic. I'm not using any rubber filament for the print, so the buttons are hard, they are not soft. but it's very nice to press them, because since they're a bit hollow, it has a bit of good feeling when pressing the buttons. It's not like pressing a very hard plastic. It's a bit soft, but not rubbery like. And they're, of course, they are not pressure or velocity sensitive, because they're just on and off buttons. And I make this all by myself with a regular PCB inside and some wires connected to the Arduino, and that's it. That's the unit. So if I have any questions, please let me know on the video comments, and I will keep updating the software as people want. And also keep in mind that when you purchase the unit, there's going to be a delay, because I have to manufacture it. If I start getting more and more orders, I can make it on advance, so it's going to be easier to ship. Otherwise, I have to wait a few days before